The Chicago Bulls come back to beat the Washington Wizards 122-121. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's win. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we're talking about the key takeaways from tonight's win against the Washington Wizards. And so I have one point that really describes what we saw in this game, and that's that the Chicago Bulls got it done. They got to the bottom line, which is win the game. And so this was not a pretty win for the Chicago Bulls. This was a game in which the Washington Wizards led by as many as 16 points. They scored 41 points in the first quarter. They had 70 points at the half. The Bulls did not win a quarter until the fourth quarter, in which they won that quarter 29-22. The Washington Wizards really got everything that they wanted on offense, scoring the ball inside, knocking down shots from the outside, getting second chance points. Like, they were taking it to the Chicago Bulls. And so the Bulls were able to pull it together, make the plays that they needed to make. And with 34 seconds to go, Trey Jones able to get to the free throw line to help the Bulls take the lead. And then the Bulls were able to force a critical turnover against the Washington Wizards that secured this game. And so that is really the point of the game, is just that they got it done. And so next, I wanted to go ahead and jump into, I think, the biggest storyline really surrounding this game now, and it's around what Nikola Vucevic had to say after the game, and just really going to talk about also too what he had to say in his press conference along with Billy Donovan. And so we are going to talk about the players' stats and everything like that, because there were a couple players that did stand out today, and so I will be talking about that. Didn't have an MVP, but I wanted to first talk about what Nikola Vucevic had to say, because I think that he really brings out 2 points here. And so the first one being, this is why you want Nikola Vucevic on your team, because of the leadership that he provides. And then also too, with what Nikola Vucevic says, it really points to some truths and some things that the Chicago Bulls are going to have to do, not just this season, but you're talking about really for the long term of your team. These little things are going to make a difference when you are trying to win games at a high level. And so I'm just paraphrasing this and just really going over what Vucevic had to say. And so if you got a chance to watch the broadcast, he talks to Casey Johnson after the game. This is something that is not new. You know, after games when the Bulls win, Casey Johnson interviews somebody. And so Nikola Vucevic, he did have a big game today. And so he talks to him. And so this is what Vooch had to say. And again, just paraphrasing this. And so he says, finally started playing for 3 quarters. We played very soft, no resistance. We didn't do anything that we talked about. Really soft, really bad. We played a little in the fourth. We're obviously happy we won. We can't keep doing this. This is not sustainable. The approach, the way we played, giving up tons of rebounds and drives, no resistance for 36 minutes. Finally, we started playing. This is not sustainable. We just don't have enough talent. We'll take the win, just not good enough. We will need to be better. He talks about also too that the mental approach and just the detail was not there. He said the effort plays like boxing out, knowing which way guys like to drive, putting your body out there to help on drives. He's like, when we do these things, we're a good team. But if we don't, we have to take the ball out of the net, and that is hard for us. So Nikola Vucevic does talk to the press after as well. And so if you want to check this out, you can go over to the CHGO YouTube page there, and it's a 6-minute clip. And he essentially is saying the same things about just really the effort level, the attention to detail, and just really disappointed at how the team got to this win. And Billy Donovan also is in that presser. Again, if you head over to the CHGO YouTube channel, you'll check it out. and he acknowledges that he appreciated what Vooch had to say there. And so he also has some interesting things to say in his presser. And so, again, just going into why I like this from Vooch is because number one, he gives you the leadership. And number two, he is talking about some things that the Bulls absolutely must do on a night-to-night basis. And he does say that these are things that this team can control because, look, there's a lot of things you cannot control. The 5 games in 7 nights, like that is the scheduling. You have no control over that, but you have control over the effort. You have control over the details, especially when he's mentioning, how guys like to drive and stuff like that. Now you're talking about the scouting report, right? Like those are little things that you have to be locked in, as a team. Like you have to be really locked in, to those details in order to take that step as a team. And so I loved what Nikola Vucevic had to say. And so again, make sure that you check that out on CHGO's YouTube page and look at those press conferences. And so now I wanted to go ahead and jump into just the individual performances here, because I think that Vucevic was a player that stood out tonight. I think that Josh Giddey did, and also to Coby White. Again, this was still, not a pretty win for the team. And so starting with Nikola Vucevic, look, he had a solid double-double in this one. So 28 points. He had 12 rebounds as well. And he also, too, was a -1 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 4 personal fouls. He did have a turnover. He had 2 assists, and he was 3 of 7 from downtown, 1 of 1 from the free throw line, and 12 of 20 from the field. And so with Nikola Vucevic and the way that he scored today, what I liked about it is that you saw just really the combination of him going inside and outside. And so I don't think that he was necessarily, just perimeter based. I thought that Josh Giddey did a great job getting him the rock. I thought that also, too, Coby White hit him with some good passes as well. And Vooch was able to really get to his spots on the floor. And so he really operated like in that paint, free throw area. Also, too, he got a chance to knock down some threes. And so he did hit, a big shot or big buckets actually in the fourth quarter. And so that was good to see from Vooch. And so a solid day from him. And I loved what he had to say. And so he is definitely a player that stood out in today's game. Next, the next player that stood out for us, that was Josh Giddey. And so Josh Giddey gets another triple-double on the season here. And so he had 18 points, he had 12 rebounds, and 11 assists. And so with Josh Giddey, look, this is a game in which he was a +3 in the plus-minus box score today with those 18 points, 11 assists, and 12 rebounds. Only 2 turnovers today. He did have a block. He had 3 steals, 6 of 7 from the free throw line, and 2 of 3 from downtown, and 5 of 12 from the field. And so one of the things that I liked about Josh Giddey's performance today is that he got to the free throw line 7 times, which actually tied the team high with Coby White. So that was good to see. Next, I think that he had a sequence of just great passes throughout this game. Like I love the pass that he got there to Modest Buzelis along the baseline for like a spinning layup that he had under the basket. And then also too, like he just had a very nice steal on one play where Alex Sarr kind of falls asleep and he comes from behind, rips him, and then that leads to a breakaway dunk there. And so Josh Giddey, super active, nice pass and a lob there to Kevin Huerter as well. And so just some good stuff across the board. I like the fact that when he was taking those 3-point shots, he got to the corner and then he knocked down some of those corner pocket threes. And so some good stuff there from him today. Next, I think another player that stood out for the Chicago Bulls is going to be Coby White. And so with Coby White today, number one, he started. And so that was the first time that he started for the Chicago Bulls. And number two, man, he definitely looks like he's moving well. Like I loved his movement today, just his ability to get to his step through and just the way that he was attacking with the pace and everything else. He did get a nice 4-point play in this game as well. And so he had 20 points, +8 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 4 turnovers, which actually led the team there, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, 5 of 7 from the free throw line, and 3 of 11 from downtown, and 6 of 16 from the field. So not the best night as far as shooting the basketball, But I like the fact that he got to the free throw line like Josh Giddey. I think that that is one of the things that they both did well when they were on that run last season. And that is why, I'm super excited to see him back in the lineup with Josh Giddey and Modest Buzelis as well. Like, this is the first time that we saw all three of these guys, in the starting lineup. And so that was good to see. And I just liked the way that he was attacking him. Really, he almost closed the game out. He had a 3-point shot that kind of rimmed out, and that really would have been, I think, pretty much the way the game could have ended if Coby White could have knocked down this three. And so some good stuff from him. I think that those were the three players that stood out for us. And so next, I wanted to go ahead and just jump into the rest of the box score with the starters today. And so starting with Modest Buzelis. And so with Modest Buzelis today, I think that we continue to see growth. I think that one of the biggest things that stands out is going to be the block shots. And so he had 13 points. He was +4 in the plus-minus box score. He just had 1 turnover, 3 blocks, 1 steal, 1 assist, 6 rebounds, 4 of 5 from the free throw line, and 4 of 11 from the field, and 1 of 6 from downtown. And so he did hit a big 3 late in this game that the Bulls absolutely needed. And then I just love the fact that you are seeing the block shots with Modest Buzelis, because that is something that he wants to do this year, is become a better defender. And so he still needs to put in some more work with the on-ball stuff, but you can see the growth for him. Would like to see him continue to raise the rebounding numbers. Not the most efficient night for him scoring the basketball, but still you like the fact that he's getting into double figures. And more importantly, he did not get into foul trouble. I think that Modest Buzelis has kind of struggled with that, and that has kind of set him back. And he also, too, was able to play tonight after, kind of going through that ankle injury. And so that was a plus here, for a Bulls team that didn't have some players tonight. And so next, the next player I wanted to talk about here in the starting lineup was Ayo Dosunmu. And so with Ayo Dosunmu tonight, I think with him, I think that he played off of Josh Giddey and Coby White, which kind of slowed him down, I think, a little bit today. Because if you think about it, Ayo Dosunmu has been coming off the bench. He's really led that unit. And I think that, in this particular situation with him starting, he has to take a little bit of a step back, kind of play off of, Josh Giddey, Coby White, and these other guys like that. And it wasn't the best shooting night for Ayo Dosunmu. And I will say this, he did hit, a critical shot, especially from downtown when this team needed it. And so I love the fact that he will still take these shots, even if it's not, the best night offensively for him. And so 8 points in this one, 5 rebounds. He was a +2, 1 assist, 2 of 9 from the field, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, and 1 of 4 from downtown in 29 minutes. And so that was Ayo Dosunmu today. And the next, just kind of going into the bench performances today. And so I think that the first player here off the bench that really stood out for us is going to be Jalen Smith. And so with Jalen Smith, you see that he almost got the double-double. And so 9 points today, 9 rebounds. He did have an assist. He was -3 in the plus-minus box score, 1 of 6 from downtown and 4 of 13 from the field in 19 minutes. And so, I know it wasn't the best night, as far as shooting the basketball, but what I like about Jalen Smith is that he continues to really build momentum this season. And I do think that Billy Donovan, he has to now say to himself that Jalen Smith is worthy of minutes, especially late in games. And he should certainly be in the rotation no matter what happens with Zach Collins, because I think that he has shown that he can go out there and get the rebounds. He can score, from downtown. And he's also, too, starting to get the block shots. So I love that about Jalen Smith. And so another thing, too, just to add on what he did, it was a tough night last night, but still he's willing to take the shots and he almost gets the double-double. And so I was pleased with seeing what we saw from Jalen Smith tonight. Next, with Julian Phillips. So with Julian Phillips, man, he was a highlight reel tonight. So he had 2 dunks. He had a nice kind of a layup off of a dunk off a cut from Jalen Smith. And so that was good. Then also, too, he got a nice rebound and finish for a dunk as well, on a miss, I believe, by Trey Jones. And so that was good to see with Julian Phillips. Like, the activity level was there. And he also was coming off a tough night last night. And so he just really couldn't hit, the shots that he wanted to hit, but still came with the energy tonight. 4 points, +3 in the plus minus box score, 3 rebounds, 2 of 2 from the field in 10 minutes. And so next, Noe Essengue. And so Noe Essengue gets some minutes today. And so that was huge to see. We finally get a chance to see him play. And with Noe Essengue, he only took one shot and he missed it. So he was 0 of 1 from downtown in 4 minutes. He was a -9 in the plus minus box score. And so what I did like about Noe Essengue is that there was one play where he makes the read and he sees where the offensive player is going and he gets a good contest at the free throw line, but it leads to a bucket for the Washington Wizards. And so I saw that. And he looked like, he knew what he was doing there. I think, with his defensive assignments and stuff like that, obviously he still got to adjust to the NBA game. But it wasn't like it was a situation where, it just looked bad when he was on the floor. And so I think that Noe Essengue did well with his 4 minutes. And he's also been playing well with the Windy City Bulls because coming into this game, he had just scored 22 points for them. And so Noe Essengue and the Windy City Bulls are making some noise here as they are winning games there down there. And so definitely make sure you check them out there. And so that's good to see that we get a chance to see him play. And then next, just some other stuff here on the bench. And so Jevon Carter had 2 points in this game. You see that he was 0 of 2 from downtown and 1 of 3 in 11 minutes. And so I think that Jevon Carter is another player that we probably should expect to see some more minutes with, even when this team gets fully healthy, because, he's been coming in and he's been giving the team some offense as far as just getting them buckets and stuff like that. And so I think that if you're going to play this style, I think Billy Donovan needs to utilize the entire bench here. And so I know it was a tough night for him tonight, but still Jevon Carter still getting minutes here. Next, Kevin Huerter. And so Kevin Huerter, I think he was under the weather. And so he had 9 points, a -9 with the plus minus box score here today. 1 personal foul. He did have 3 assists, 1 of 3 from downtown and 4 of 8 from the field in 19 minutes. And so had some good finishes inside, I thought, just as far as like getting downhill and attacking, the basket that way. And it's good to see that he came back, after being ejected and also too, just not feeling the best. And so it's always great to see him kind of contribute there. And then next with Tre Jones. And so I think that Tre Jones maybe finally starting to feel a lot better from that ankle. And so that was one of the things that I said with him as far as getting back into the rhythm. And so 10 points today, +7 in the plus minus box score. He had an assist. He had 2 rebounds as well. And he didn't get a steal, but I think he should have got a credit for one because he certainly was active enough to kind of knock the ball loose and it went to somebody else. And I think they got credited as steal, but still, Tre Jones, really, I liked his activity out there and the layups too. You could tell he was feeling a little bit better because some of the layups that he made, I think are pretty crafty, which is something that I always talk about with him. The 6 of 6 from the free throw line was huge because the Bulls needed that because he was the one that knocked down the free throws to help the Bulls really get the lead. And so he just makes those, high basketball IQ type of plays, but it's good to see that he's back in the plus minus box score and kind of finishing around the basket like we usually see with Tre Jones. And so that is the player box score. And now I wanted to go ahead and jump into now the team box score and just really take a look at just some of these numbers here. And so I think that when we take a look at this, like you're going to see that the Wizards, again, I think from a statistic standpoint, they did what they needed to do to win the game. They just did not close out here. And so, starting with the first thing, and that's going to be the field goal percentage here. And so you see that the Washington Wizards shot 46% from the field, 44 of 96. The Bulls, 42 of 100, just 42% there. And then look at the 3-point percentage here. And so the Bulls did not shoot the basketball well at all, just shooting 27%. You see that the Wizards were 44%, 16 of 36 for them, 12 of 44 for the Bulls. And then with the free throws, and so the Bulls were able to get to the free throw line, which I think was huge for them. Ultimately, that's what helped them again get the lead. So they got there 30 times tonight, 25 of 30. So you always like to see that type of percentage. The Wizards got there 20 times, 16 of 20. They hit 80% of theirs. But look at the rebounds. And so you see that the Wizards out-rebound the Bulls by 155 to 54. And then when it comes down to the assist, the Wizards, they out assist the Bulls 33-26 there. And then when it came down to steals, the Wizards are leading in that category 9-5. Block shots, 5-4, Bulls winning that one. But the turnovers tonight, you see that also too was big. And so the Bulls, 10 turnovers tonight, only 15 points given up, but the Wizards 15 turnovers and they gave up 23 points. And so that's kind of where they kind of worked against themselves. But they also led in the fast break 16-12 in this one. And the points in the paint, the Bulls hang on to win that category 60-54. And you see the largest lead there for the Wizards, 16. Largest lead for the Bulls was 5. And so the Bulls able to pick up the win here. And again, this was not, the pretty win here for the Chicago Bulls. This was a battle of two of the NBA's youngest teams out there. And the Bulls will play the Pelicans on Monday. They got the Hornets on Friday. One of the things that's mentioned to Vooch after the game is that the Bulls are 7-4 in clutch games. And when asked about if that is something that, it really helps the Bulls or whatnot, he was like, it's helpful, and it's good, but still, we still got to do a ton of things. And so again, just talking about some of the stuff that Vooch was saying there in the post game. And so again, make sure that you check out that presser there. You guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking from this win against the Washington Wizards. Again, I think that this was much closer than what it should have been, but bottom line, the Bulls able to get to the win. And that's what we want to see. And so let's see if the Bulls respond after Vucevic has some things to say about the team and not being happy, and some other notes too about that. If you check it out in the interview, Jalen Smith and Modest Buzelis are coming up to celebrate the win, and Vooch wanted to have no part in that as he was talking to Casey Johnson about that. So anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. And as we always say, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.